Okay, so here's the second video. What can you tell me about I, by the way, before we jump into
Well,
the second
I is an
part?
imaginary number.
Okay, I is imaginary.
Well, and I equals the square root of minus 1.
Imaginary number, and it equals the square root of minus 1. What does that mean, that I equals the square root of minus 1?
Well, it means, because you usually can't take the square roots of negative numbers.
Not usually, yeah.
Yeah, but then someone decided to make the square root of minus 1 I.
Ah, okay. So what does I equals the square root of minus 1 mean? How could we write that? What's another way we could write that?
I squared
I
equals minus 1.
I squared equals minus 1. And what did an equation like x equals the square root of 2 mean?
well,
If I use a letter x instead of I.
that would well,
What does it just mean? What does
Well,
this
it
equation
means-
tell us? Well, let your brother answer.
but we already said square root of 2 is irrational.
Right, it means that x is irrational, but it means one other thing, similar to what I equals the square root of minus 1 means. X equals the square root of 2 means what about x?
Since x has to be irrational.
Yeah, it means
So,
x is irrational.
Well, it has to be square root of 2.
Right. And do you see what this means? X squared equals 2. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It means, if we say x equals the square root of 2, it means x squared equals 2. So we have two equations that look really similar.
Yeah.
We've got some number here, we're just calling it I, and when you square it, you get minus 1. We've got some number here, x, and when you square x, you get 2. But this is kind of strange because there's no rational number that satisfies this.
Yeah.
That means
And-
it's irrational.
And here, there doesn't seem to be any real number that we can think of that has this property.
No.
But the properties are described in a very simple way, and they have an interesting relationship to each other. The square root of 2 is not that much different than I. And I want to show you why.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go.